Hello, Miss Faith. How are you today?
Hey. Hello, hello.
We are so happy to have you on with us today to kind of reminisce and celebrate Mike Jr.'s 19th birthday. Wow.
Wow.
And we definitely wanted to connect with 19 people, 15 specifically, that had an impact on his life or our family collectively. And you definitely hold a top space in that realm. And it's really not just you. You share that. You share with your loving husband, Kenny. May rest in peace. You guys were in a phenomenal, integral part of what made up JR. And we thank you for that. So, Miss Faith was a dear friend of many families, of the family that we're very much attached to. She was a caregiver for the Johnson kids. We stole her a little bit from Miss Michelle and Michael. They're twins. We needed a little help too, so we reached out and asked Michelle if it would be okay, and eventually got in touch with Faith, and you were just ready and raring. And we did give the disclosure about JR being on the spectrum and that he needed a little more care. The older kids could pretty much fend for themselves, and you were gung-ho about it, and we did not really allow anyone to keep JR. We didn't, for that purpose, because we were very overprotective of him specifically, because we knew he was a handful. Great kid, love him, but there were times he'd go left, and you better hurry up and follow him or you're gonna lose him.
Absolutely.
So we truly appreciate you stepping to the plate, to be available for us when needed, to have someone between you and Kenny that we knew we could trust with him and know that he was in good hands. We really appreciate you giving us that piece about being able to have, maybe we just run out to a show for the night for 2 hours. And, fortunately we were around the corner from the casino. So that was, it worked for us.
Yeah.
I'm going to say, Mike Jr., JR, he loved you guys too, you and your husband, Kenny. And, we really appreciated you guys being in our life at that time. And I don't know, I want to say, very important. You two people, you and your husband, were very important in our lives, for the family and the kids. And we really appreciate that. And we love you guys for that. And we'll never forget you guys,
Not ever. And then on so many levels.
Yeah.
Mike Jr. also, you want to go into him, working with him?
Oh yeah. And Kenny, oh man, Mike Jr. loved music. And Kenny was he was one of the biggest reasons why he loved music, because of the music that he played and the singing and everything. That's something that he just really enjoyed. And your husband did a very good job with that, with the kids. And matter of fact, his music is what would allow him to go to sleep too.
Oh, let me get into that real quick. Let me get into that. So Kenny was a devout musician on so many levels, from the drum to the flute. I don't know if he even had more. Faith will be able to tell us that, but he was phenomenal. And this particular CD, from the time that JR came out of my womb, this was the only thing that will make JR go to sleep. I mean, from baby to maybe mid-elementary, I'll say. But when it was nap time, he had to have this. And it came to the point where in daycare, they were having a problem. They're like, Shamika, he will not take a nap. Like, we have to leave the room with him because he wakes up all the other kids. And I'm like, well, I don't know what y'all want me to do with that. So I went home and I brainstormed and I thought about it and got JR ready for his bath after he had his dinner, put him in his bed. And as soon as I went to push play on the CD player, I was like, they need a copy of this CD. This is what they need. And there was just something so soothing about Kenny's music, and he was just so passionate with his music and how he shared the culture. He made JR fall in love with the drum. We had to get JR a drum at home so he could drum at home, and it was just amazing. And I'm really thankful for that part of his culture that came to him, and it continued to resonate when he was with you all. It taught him a lot. So can you share with us your fondest memory with JR?
I always remember him as, you know, wanting to listen to music, and it would calm him, regardless of if it was powwow music or if it was the flute CD. He loved it. And my husband was all about kids. So, you know, he took him under his wing and, you know, would sing to him and everything, you know, just to give each individual child that comfort. And, you know, when your JR came into our lives, I was like, oh, this little boy, he's going to be busy, you know, he's going to be busy. And then when I started, you know, coming to your house and, you know, sitting with the kids and everything, you know, he knew. And then, you know, as soon as I put that CD, I remember you saying, just get him ready for bed, put him in his, you know, bed and turn the CD on. And not even 5 minutes later, he'd be knocked out, you know. But as he got older, you know, watching him and everything. And I remember one day you came into the lobby and I was in the front and you were telling us, okay, this is JR's new thing. He bolts on people. So you have to, you know, be on your guard. So I was like, okay, you know, never really seen it. And then one day I went to get him off the bus and Nick was running late, I think. And I went to get him off the bus and, you know, he got off the bus, hold my hand, whatever. And then all of a sudden he let go and he took off and he started running. And I'm like, oh my God, I got to run after this kid, you know? And here I am. And I'm like, I have to run, you know? So I chased him a little bit and he ran around the cul-de-sac area up on front. And then I'm like, he looked down the road and I'm like, he is going to bolt down that hill. And so he started running and I took off after him and he like made a beeline and he started running the other way. And he ran straight to my truck.
Yeah.
And he wanted to get in the truck. He wanted to go, you know, and I always remember that. And I'm like, this boy, but I thought I was going to chase him around that parking lot. But he, you know, he stopped. He wanted to get in my truck and he wanted to leave.
Right.
So, you know, I had to tell him, no, we have to go back into the school, you know, and at first he didn't want to, but then he, you know, okay, so I'm not going to win this one. So, you know, we brought him back, but I always remember him taking off.
Yeah.
And I was like, he likes my truck because there was several times when I brought him home. So he knew, but that was one of the best memories I've ever had of him, really.
I'm glad you shared that because I just want to bring light to the fact that sometimes people overlook children with special needs and just feel that they are incapable of any sense of normalcy. And with you sharing that, it shows that even though he may have had special needs that he had to adhere to, he was still very aware.
Definitely.
Aware. So, you know, we should never underestimate the power of what we call these little superheroes, you know, and we realized, I want to say, well, I did personally. Mike was always in tune to JR because that was his mini-me. And so he knew what JR was going to do before he did it because that's him all over. But for me, it took me watching him one day in class where his teacher had said to him, Michael, you're going to come join us? And he shook his head no. And he started playing with the cars. And she had all the other kids in front of her. And she says, okay, we got new dress up clothes. Let's see what we have. And she pulls out a fireman uniform. And she says, look at this. And I watched him. He had his head down like this with the cars. And he looks over like this. And he's watching everything. And that's when I had this aha moment as a parent, like, oh my gosh, he really is intaking when we think just because he may be a little special that he doesn't know what's going on. Oh, he was very in tune and very aware. He just wasn't able always to communicate that.
Yeah.
Oh, he would show you.
Definitely.
Well, one of our, I'm not going to say fondest, but the best word a fond memory for Keys.
That was touching.
I love that.
Yeah.
Perfect word.
When Mike Jr. passed and Shamika had contacted you about the braid ties for him, that we wanted him to be buried with the braid ties, and you were able to make those and get those out to us as fast as possible. And
let me share this real quick. We shared earlier today that JR, at the time we were living in Connecticut, but JR actually passed in Delaware. Right. So he was prepped for all of his homegoing service in Delaware. And Mike definitely wanted JR to represent his culture and have his braid ties on. And I said, well, how are we going to do that? Like, I everything's at home. Like, I can't, I don't know what to do. And he said, can you please reach out to Faithe and Kenny? And I was like, okay, sure. And the blessing for us with the people that we're talking to today to celebrate JR's 19th birthday with #Impact19 really is the people that have stepped up in a beautiful way for, again, our family or JR or collectively. And I knew once Michael put it in my head to contact Faithe that it was done. I knew it was done. And I reached out to you and you were like, just give me the address. And you next day aired it to us. So it was time, we could. And this is actually, the one I'm holding up is actually the second that we have, because you also sent this to me, and I keep it in this bag where it says love, Faithe, and JR. Because Kenny is also JR.
Yeah.
We played this at his homegoing service. So as everyone was coming in, we had it on repeat because this was his song for his rest, and this was his final rest. And we just can't thank you enough for stepping up and always coming through for our family and our entire family. Our children still love you. They still talk about you and Kenny, and they're grown.
Yeah. No kids now. Well, one does. Yeah. So, yeah. That was very, very touching for us and very sentimental, and we definitely appreciate you and Kenny for doing that for us. And it's something that we will carry on forever.
Absolutely.
We'll never forget that. So,
can you share with us how you felt when you got that call about the braid ties? We never talked about that, and I would love to hear.
When you called me, I was like really sad. I was. But there was also a part of me that could never say no. Because, we weren't raised that way. So in our way, when we're asked to do something, we have to put everything aside and, whatever emotion we're going through at that time, we have to put it aside and we have to accommodate that person who's asking for help. So right away, after, you contacted us and everything and got off the phone, I was so sad and I cried and everything, just all the memories started coming back and everything. And so, I told my husband, I said, we have to do this. So, he went looking for, his crafts and everything. And, we were searching high and low because we knew we had a container with leather in it somewhere, but we just didn't know where. So we were looking and looking and looking. And then, we finally found it. So then that's when we started making them and everything, because we knew, we were on a time crunch and it had to be done. So we cut them out and got them ready. And next day, I think I went to FedEx, sent them off, and then you received them. So, but that was the hardest thing ever.
Yeah.
To prepare something, especially for a little life that was taken for whatever reason. God must have needed him for something, so, but he was really precious to us, and your whole family is really precious to us because I've watched them all grow up.
Yeah.
Every single one of them. So
you have. And I did share that you were caregiver whenever we needed from the family, but you have also elevated to office manager of the daycare, which is the Mashantucket Pequot Child Development Center, where JR attended. And I'm so happy for you. It's like you were the mama bear to all these babies. And as these babies grew up and they no longer needed you as much as they needed you in their infantile state, toddler state, or whatever, you allowed them to go out and flourish. You kept in touch with them. You still loved on them, and you moved on as well. And you're still in the realm of taking care of the babies, but you're in the office manager position. I'm so proud of you, Faith. You are so amazing. You deserve every good thing that comes to you. And we're so grateful for the opportunity that we had to share with you and Kenny, and watch Craig and Lauren as well grow up. So it's been a beautiful, I'm not even gonna say just relationship, I'm gonna say partnership, because we really did partner all together to make sure, like Kenny had that booming voice that was reminiscent of his dad's, where Michael was stopping his track if he said it.
Yeah. Yep.
That's pretty
I
amazing.
remember that. JR. And he'd be like, okay, I don't have to say anything. Oh.
And there was quite a few times that would happen. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for carving out some time for us to be able to reminisce and really talk about the impact that you had on us and our family. And we just thank you so much, Faith. We really, really do.
Yes.
Absolutely. Thank you for asking me.
No,
brought back a lot of good memories.
Good. Wonderful. You have a fantastic rest of your day, and think of JR and celebrate with him today.
I will.